Hey guys, what's up? It's Apollo. Thanks for stopping by and welcome to a very awesome episode of Breaking the Meta. As you can tell, we're playing a siege battle here, and this episode isn't necessarily about building unconventional army comps. This one is about breaking the meta for siege strategy. I wanted to come up with a way to sally out and actually have the advantage over my opponent. Now, most of the time when you sally out, it's suicide. You rarely ever want to do it. But I was inspired by my last video, Into the Breach, when I saw the Sicilians pushing out some infantry and some artillery, and that gave me a good idea that maybe if me and my ally, we push out some heavy artillery, we get some pikemen, get some infantry, and have a couple cav units to support them, we could really beat down the opponent over here and maybe possibly even cause him to prematurely attack and try to destroy our position here, and using the walls and towers and archers against him, be able to destroy his army with limited troops and limited resources. Because this is a really risky move. If you cannot beat your opponent with a cheap force, with a small force, then it's really not worth it, because you're better off just retreating back and using the walls against them. So we're going to be going into detail while this strategy is unraveling. I'll be talking about the pros and cons of this strategy and whether if the strategy is even really reliable. But I do have some unfortunate news that some of the players were fairly new to Medieval 2, so it's tough to really properly test this strategy on newer players. But it's still very awesome, and it's still going to be a great way I can present this this strategy to you. We're going to mostly be focusing over here, because this is where we're going to perform the tactic, I guess you could say, because we felt like the Sicilian would be a good target, because he's very far away from his ally, and also he doesn't have a lot of archers, and he mostly has heavy infantry, so he's going to have a tough time trying to escape this tactic. So let's just go ahead and play this, and I'll go ahead and talk more about it. So here is what my idea was. Bringing some cheap units like peasant crossbowmen. I do have some longbows up on the walls here that are already firing. I brought England because of the very impressive range of the longbowmen, and I really wanted to get some early harass off. So what I felt like it was a good army comp for this strategy, just looking at this section of an army comp, I felt like bringing a couple cav units, just cheap mailed knights, bringing a couple feudal knights, and also bringing some dismounted English knights to help with enemy cav. And Sicily is going to charge out here. I don't know if he just noticed the artillery, but I did bring a culverin, because that's going to help me shoot at the attackers here. So I've got my cav out here fighting off the enemy cav, and this is obviously a battle we're going to win. He's already breaking. He's bringing cav militia, which is a pretty easy unit to break. But we're charging out our archers. So with this strategy, for this strategy to work, is what I'm trying to say, you have to have some sort of archer presence. You have to really harass your opponent and don't let them back up, don't let them escape. Constantly push forward and harass them with your archers, but also stay very close to your own walls. And look at this, he's already pushing up some infantry. So I thought this was a really good start to this strategy. He's being very aggressive, which I think is a mistake on his part, because we are going to have the support of those walls over here. But anyways, so the army comp here is consisting of a couple archers. I've got 2 Sherwoods on the field, and of course I've got my longbows on the walls here, a couple of feudal knights, and my ally is bringing some pike militia to help. Really, the pike militia are really good at keeping back the opponent for long periods of time, not necessarily killing them. And with the support of the archers up on the wall, that should be a very deadly combo. Now I'm going to already set up my culverin here, and I'm going to go ahead and start harassing. So this is really fast, guys. This felt like lightning. We just had to set up extremely quick, and there we go. Look at that. I already destroyed one of his artillery. So we took out a very great objective there, and we ripped through multiple ranks of his infantry. So this is just a fantastic start. And I told my ally to retreat his mailed knights, because I didn't want to be too harsh, and I wanted him to just keep his cav nearby to protect the infantry. So there we go. We're harassing them with Sherwood archers, which have a ridiculous range, and they're very, very good. And like I said earlier, they're pretty good in melee. Or maybe I didn't say that earlier, but if they have to, they can do pretty well in melee. So now we just sit and wait. We sit and wait. We've got our infantry lined up. We've got our pikemen and the feudal knights working together, and the culverin is just going ham. And we're trying to make our opponent feel very uncomfortable, and we want him to make some quick and bad decisions. And it looks like he's pushing up some crossbows, which is a smart idea. You want to try to skirmish back at your opponent, but we just have a better firepower. We have more archers, and we have a better position, and of course we've got the culverin helping us out. Looks like he's trying to charge in some cav there. Oh, there we go. We are just destroying his infantry. He's making a big mistake here. By the way, Sicily is commanded by Mr. Dogo, or Doge, or no, Dogo. And he shouldn't really group up his infantry like that. He should put them in loose formation and spread them out. Honestly, I would just walk away. Like, if I was going to counter this tactic, I would just walk away. But if he did walk away, I would just keep pushing forward. Keep pushing forward and keep harassing him. I think this strategy would also be very useful with horse archers, because, you know, horse archers are very quick. They can they can charge in unprotected archers, and they can also do the circle formation, and that would cause a lot of harass on the attacker here. So everything is going smoothly, and we're getting tons of kill. We've killed 10% already, and we've only lost 5%. Now, we did lose quite a bit, but most of that 5% is just cheap units. So I know it seems like we're committing a lot of forces here, but I think one thing I would change is getting cheaper units. Like, feudal knights are kind of expensive for this. I think a really good faction for doing this would be like France, because they both have composite and crossbow capabilities. Also, they have some very good horse archers, and they have some cheap units like pikemen. Now, Venice would also be a great faction to do this tactic. Also, if I could go back and redo this strategy, I would just make it so one player is doing this strategy, because what happened during the siege battle is that we were kind of going back and forth on both flanks, which is really, really bad for your micro. You can miss out on a lot of stuff going on. So I think if only one player focused on this tactic, then they could just, focus on this completely, and the other player would focus on slowing down the other attackers. Now, obviously, the players here are new. He's using a ribolt to try to knock down the walls, which is okay. We were all new at one point in our medieval playing career, but you're better off getting like a culverin or cannon to destroy these walls. But I believe Portugal is a little bit more experienced. But they're taking their time, and there's really nothing they can do about this because they're so far away. And he's trying to use his siege towers to protect his infantry, I believe. But this is really bad because he's grouping up his infantry, and my culverin is just ripping the ranks into shreds. Look at that. You see that volley? Epic. Epic. So, yeah. Everything's going smoothly. I'm pushing up my Sherwood archers. Trying to fire back at his archers. Actually, I think I'm just focusing the infantry. I don't even care about his archers. I'm just trying to get him to attack. Oh, there's another good volley there. Nice. And there we destroy that siege equipment. So we really destroyed his resources. We destroyed his siege equipment. We destroyed one of his cannons there. So I think this is a good strategy. But I feel like if this was against more experienced players, this might turn out to be a little bit different. I don't know. Like, I really don't know how effective this strategy is. I'm not even too sure that this is even a solid strategy. This could just be a waste of money, and also could be bad, because one of the reasons this could be very bad is if the attackers get aggressive here, there's no way to escape. If they choke this or they block this road here, I can't retreat these forces. Now, really, when you have a force like this, when you sally out and you try to beat your opponent with very cheap units, you don't expect these forces to return. It's kind of like a suicide mission, and their job is to destroy an entire army with a cheap garrison of force, so like a cheap company of men. Or maybe not even kill them completely, but weaken them so much that where you've gotten your money out of the units you sent out, if you get what I'm saying. I'm kind of struggling here to explain this strategy, but there's just a lot to it that I don't want to miss anything. But let's kind of talk about what could go wrong here with this strategy. Well, first off, like I said earlier, they could be cut off and cut down. But again, if you use these men correctly, you know, these guys are not returning to the siege. Like, they're gonna die here, and they're gonna try to kill as many as they can. I think sending out cheaper archers, like the Sherwood archers they're not too expensive actually compared to like longbows and the rest of the archer roster. But I think if you brought like Venice and you bring the peasant crossbows, it's very cheap. Now it does use up roster space, but you can definitely spend, you know, some of that money on upgrades for your other infantry that's holding the main center over here. So, yeah, and also you have to be near a gate for this to work, because if you need to quickly retreat for whatever reason... Ooh, and look at that, some friendly fire. He didn't time that properly, and his troops there got cut down pretty bad. Yeah, if you ever need to retreat, you need to be near a gate, and also there needs to be a slight hill advantage in front of your opponent. So there's a lot of circumstances that need to work in your way. There's a lot of variables that need to go in your favor. But right now, we are just slaughtering the Sicilian force. And it's working. And the mortar, we also have the mortar from my ally. And I wonder if, like, a catapult would be better in this situation. I almost feel like a catapult would do more damage, or like a trebuchet, compared to a culverin. I feel like a culverin is better for, like, streets. You know, firing in huge clumps of men in the street. Oh, look at it, I killed more of my own men. I've got some longbows, so I'm sending up more archers to help skirmish back. Now, this is another issue with this strategy, is the amount of resources, the amount of archers it takes. Because you want to have more archers fighting, because you can get peppered down pretty bad by the enemy archers firing back. But that really uses up a lot of your ammo. And, okay, so at this point, there was some miscommunication. So my ally was bluffing this this wall right here, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna hold the wall. I was like, no, don't hold the wall, let them come in. I guess he was worried about them cutting off our forces over here, but in my mind I was like, no, these forces are here to die, they don't need to retreat. So he's retreating his men, and I was like, no, keep the men out here to fight. I guess if you want to retreat some heavy infantry, that's fine, you can get them to the second layer, but at least leave your pikemen and a cav unit, because that's all I really need. The rest of the forces can go back home. So yeah, he's falling back, which is completely understandable. But yeah, that kind of hurt our strategy there a little bit, because now that took up time and we missed out on some killing opportunities. But really, I'm just constantly trying to tempt him to charge in. But he's just a little indecisive right now, which really can kill your strategy. You don't want to be indecisive like this. Make a decision. It's better to make a decision than not make a decision. And I think he's trying to fire his cannon after my culverin, which is really, really good, guys. Actually, he's shooting at the wall. But earlier, he was trying to destroy this culverin, which is good, because even if I lose my artillery, I don't need it as bad as he does. And he's wasting ammo on my culverin. But here we go, guys. It looks like Sicily has had enough, and he's charging in to get rid of our forces. I guess he noticed that we retreat some of our forces, but it looks like Venice is still marching away. And this is where we hold our ground. Now, if I lose this engagement, it's okay. And also, the Papal States sent over some cav, but I'm going to go ahead and just charge in there with my mailed knights. I've got the tower support here that's going to help my cav, and I'll win this one. So I'm protecting the flank of my men. And here we go. We're going to hold this hill, and he's going to charge in. There we are. I'm going to charge back with my feudal knights. And we've been hitting them with artillery, with archers. His troops are really going to have a morale disadvantage, because, you know, whenever you hit them with artillery, they can really lose hope in a fight. You know, I wouldn't want to get hit by artillery. That's just terrible. Terrible. But we got the Venetians flanking around, using his mailed knights. And I'm pretty outnumbered here, but that's okay. Like, I've got archers supporting me, I've got the arrow tower support, and I have the hill. So we've got this beautiful battle going on, and it looks like he's sending over some infantry over here to try to support his ally. I'm trying to quickly kill these guys so I can get my mailed knights out of there. They break just in time, and I'm going to be able to flank around and kill these guys that are trying to go, I believe, for the artillery. We've got some men-at-arms. going after my longbows, which still have a good amount of ammo. And they're firing, and the constant shelling of our artillery, it's just relentless on these poor Sicilians. My feudal knights are pretty banged up, but look at this. Venice is sending back his forces. He retreated earlier. So he's coming back out. And he's going to help support my poor feudal knights who are left here all alone. And he still has a couple more waves of forces. So yeah, I mean, this is just, again, this strategy might not be reasonable. This might not be a really good strategy, but that's the fun of breaking the meta, is just trying to come up with strategies, trying to come up with interesting army comps to try to bring something new to the table. And like, the problem with siege battles is that they can be very dimensional. Excuse me, words are hard. As in, there's really just one good solid strategy, which is bringing heavy infantry, bringing some crossbows, you know, holding the walls, forming the V shape. I wanted to change it up a little bit, and this is my attempt. And I would love for you guys to critique it, tell me what you like about it, tell me what you don't like about it. And there's obviously a lot of things could go wrong, and I do want to test this out on more experienced players. But honestly, it's tactics like this that keep the attackers on their toes, as in they don't know what to expect from the defenders. And I'm the kind of person who likes to be in control of the battle. I don't like to follow my opponent. I want to make my opponent follow me. And I felt like in this kind of situation, as a defender, how the siege meta is right now, as a defender, you kind of just have to sit back and wait for your attacker to make the move. But this is my attempt to make the move, try to be in command, and force my opponent to do something stupid or premature, like this charging into me and stuff. So as soon as he charged in his infantry, I felt pretty good about this. Anyways, I hope that you get what I'm saying. I know I've kind of been rambling on. I'm just trying to explain everything that was going on and my thought process of this strategy. But yeah, guys, if you have any cool strategies, like, even if you think they're bad, just try them out. Just see what happens. I am gonna try to do this strategy some like more often. I'm gonna try to perfect it a little bit. Again, I think having just one player focus on this little like sally out force would be better instead of two, because right now, look at this. We do have some fighting going on in this front. The Papal States are charging in, and we're holding back this area. So as you can tell, if you look over here, we have an admit defeat. Sicily admitted defeat. He was like, all right, well, he's like, is this your first time trying this strategy? I was like, yeah, sorry, you're kind of like my my test dummy, just trying it out, my little lab rat. But I think this worked pretty well. Again, I don't know how experienced Mr. Dogo is. He could have done a couple things that would have made this a little bit more difficult for us. But I'm definitely going to try this again, try to fine-tune this strategy and come up with the ideal army comp to continue to pursue the I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to try to keep working on the strategy. How about that? There we go. Just going to keep on working on it and try to perfect it. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So yeah, hopefully this will be another strategy that attackers are going to have to think about, and maybe even come up with a counter strategy to deal with it. I think I'm going to try bringing a catapult, because catapults are a lot cheaper compared to the gunpowder arty, and also I think they can do a lot more damage. So I'm going to try that next time. That will save me some money as well. And this is where Portugal is trying to prevent my troops from retreating. My longbows pretty much used up most of their ammo, but that's okay because my ally still has most of his ammo. And I've got some longbows over here firing down. The Papal States are like charging in his army, and we're just holding right here. So it's a pretty good position. Anyways, what I'm doing here is I'm sending in my very depleted units. They're mostly destroyed, but I'm using this wall against the Portuguese, and I'm gonna try to just overwhelm them with the support of the arrow tower. And also I've got my artillery here that I'm firing. They've got a couple more rounds left. Like, I've never actually been a defender and used up all of my ammo of a culverin. Now I probably should have used like a serpentine or something like that, honestly. I don't know why I brought a culverin. Like a catapult would have been way better. That's my first mistake. But yeah, do you get what I'm saying though by bringing cheaper units? Because when you bring a cheaper force and you actually defeat an entire force of elite infantry, you can spend most of your money and keep your very good troops for the main defense. And we kind of view this battle. It's a pretty epic battle. Unfortunately though, this siege battle is not very close. So we're not going to be watching all of it. I've got my longbows pushed up forward here. Pretty epic position. Got some reserves over here, some feudal knights in reserve. I'm going to keep them in loose formation because they are getting hit hard by Pavis. And this is pretty cool over here too. This is also using your resources. I felt pretty smart at this part. Using this arrow tower and using like a handful of troops to keep back the feudal knights. Using my artillery to fire. We actually caused some of his forces to hide behind the building because of my artillery. So this is pretty cool. And then I've got my longbows up here as well. Pretty good position. So we're killing even more forces. So not only did this force destroy an entire Sicilian force, we're also killing a couple of feudal knights from Portugal, which is really going to help us out. And the balance of power is almost halfway. Did you see it at the beginning of this match? It was not even close. We gave our opponents a lot of money because I wasn't too sure how good these opponents were. So they have a 10k advantage on us and they outnumber us. There's 3 of them, there's only 2 of us. I believe it was 22,000 us and 32,000 them. And the rules were like max 1 artillery, max 3 cav, which are usually like standard rules for a siege battle. But yeah, we're really slaughtering them. And what I'm going to do now, guys, is just fast forward because we've already watched our strategy here. And hopefully that brings in some ideas. And I really wanted to show you this right away because I want to hear some criticism. I want to learn. I want to hear your guys' idea and how I can improve on this strategy. I just feel like it's going to be easily countered. That's my fear. Just easily countered. And I mean, honestly, if Sicily just walked away, it would have been really hard for us to try to harass him. You know, constantly moving our archers to face his and constantly moving the artillery to shoot at him. But we're going to fast forward. Actually, you know what, guys? Let me just explain what happens. Eventually, we win here, but we lose most of our forces. And then over here, they just, I don't know. I guess they ran out of ammo or something like that. Or I don't know what happened, but they're like slowly charging in infantry like one at a time. So we're like killing them nice and slowly. You should never attack in waves. You should always attack everything at once. But what I'm gonna do at the very end, there's a sally out part, and I'm just gonna fast forward and show you that, not for like any kind of tactic reason or anything, just because it was pretty epic. So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward to the part where we sally out, and I'll end the video that way. Alright guys, welcome back. So this is where we decide to charge out our heavy infantry and just do an epic sally out because we realized that we were just gonna win this because of the support of the arrow towers and the support of the archers. So we're charging out our infantry. And yeah, I just wanted to show you this because it was pretty epic. Massive amounts of infantry just fighting right outside the castle walls. Pretty cool. So while we're watching this, we need a good name for this strategy. I usually always name my tactics, not because I think it's cool or anything, just because it makes it more convenient. So for example, when you push up crossbows into choke points and you fire at the defenders that are defending the choke points, if you know what I mean, I call that pepper spray. That's my strategy for that. So if you're talking to your opponent, you can be like, oh, let's do pepper spray, instead of saying like, oh, move up your crossbows and fire at the troops that are defending the choke points. It's not as smooth and it's not as quick. Also, that strategy where I pin an infantry unit up on a wall and then I move up archers to fire at the flank of them, I call that fish in a barrel, like shooting fish in a barrel. Anyways, we need a good name for the tactic, and I'm kind of curious what you guys are gonna come up with, but hopefully I can maybe make a into the breach battle, a massive battle where I do that tactic and it's a little bit closer of a siege battle. but I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty rad. And also, guys, give me some interesting siege battle tactics. I want to see some sally out from you guys. Maybe you guys can work on the tactics. Maybe you can try to improve it or try something different. But I will definitely be trying this more, and I think I'm gonna have to come up with different gamer tags or different names so people don't recognize me and expect me to do a tactic like that. Excuse me. Burping up my breakfast. Alright, but yeah, Portugal is just getting crushed, and the Papal States have pretty much sent in all of their infantry, and we're just slaughtering them. So unfortunately, the siege battle was very not close. And there goes the gate. Okay, so I guess we'll do a little rundown of the strategy. If you want to try this yourself, remember, have cheap units, but also have the support of some sort of artillery, have the support of the walls, put your archers up on the walls. Try to get your opponent to prematurely attack, but also I think that only one person should be focused on that tactic, because when there's multiple people, it's hard to micro all around the battle. So for example, let's just say that I charged out. Venice should have just focused on this defense over here, and I could just keep my reserves in the back. But yeah, both players admitting defeat there, and then we can look at the results. So here's the results. Very good job by me and my ally here, doing a great job. We're both, I think Windwalker is a pretty experienced player, so he did a great job there. And good job to my opponents. Thank you, Mr. Dogo, for being a good sport and letting us try out this pretty aggressive strategy that honestly most players would probably quit at that sight of sallying out and trying to face all that hell of archers and such. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this keeps your brain juices flowing and you guys can come up with some strategies. Just send them my way. I'd be happy to watch them, but be sure to write a description about the strategy. I've been noticing that some people sent in breaking the meta replays, but they're not writing a description, so I don't know what to expect, and I don't know really what to focus on. So be sure to write a description explaining your strategy or your army comp. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.